Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on our YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is the show where we talk about the things that we love. Movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all that good stuff. The things that give us joy. Joining me in the joy, of course, is our technical director, Jonathan Voico.
Hello, everyone.
The bringer of joy himself, writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Joy is for all mankind, coming back in March. Free Margot, justice for Sergey.
And most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys, including a quick little conversation with our buddy Sean Chandler a little bit later on. I'm looking forward to that. And then in the second part of the show is the most important part. That's when we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, observation, or question you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our super chats in the live chat. That does mean you have to be watching the show live in order to send in a question, but send them on in. And as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on our show, we'll answer your question later on in the show. All right. With that down, guys, let's get things started off in a big way.
Woohoo!
Dare I say, Eternia scale?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, listen, I'll tell you what, there's a He-Man Masters of the Universe movie coming, and it's being directed, shockingly so, by Travis Knight, the guy who directed straight up the best Transformers movie, Bumblebee, but he also directed the critically acclaimed Kubo and the Two Strings, which I've never met one person I'm sure some people don't like it. I've never met anybody that didn't like it. So he's directing this He-Man movie. Rob, you and I they showed us a big preview of it, showing up a bunch of behind the scenes stuff and everything at CinemaCon all the way back in April. And we were both like,
hell yeah.
That looks way better than it should. And so is it going to be good? I don't know. But they dropped their first little teaser today, a true teaser, not a mini trailer, a teaser that was basically heralding the coming of the full trailer tomorrow. But it still gave us a bit of a look at some stuff. Deadline has this Masters of the Universe teaser. MGM and Mattel bring the 80s toy series to the big screen. There's one shot of it. Get a little look at Man-at-Arms, Tila Butt. What's his name? Cringer, a.k.a. Battle Cat in his pre-Battle Cat form. Now, I'm not going to lie. I hope we get to see Battle Cat in the full trailer. I really do. But there you have it. A bunch of the shots look good. This is in Deadline saying, here's the first teaser trailer for Masters of the Universe, the live-action adventure movie based on the classic 1980s toy brand. The film stars Nicholas Camila Mendes, Alison Brie, James Purefoy, Morena Baccarin, Johannes Hakur Johansson, and Charlotte Riley along Kristen Wiig. You know, I didn't realize Kristen Wiig was in it as Roboto with Jared Leto and Idris Elba. Jared Leto being Skeletor and Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms. All right. What do I think about this little teaser? I thought it was a great little concept. I really did. Lean into the whole 80s aspect of it. I particularly like the beginning of the 80s when this was a healthy breakfast and this was an intense workout. And listen, all we got was a couple of quick little glimpses. All right. That's all we got. I like the glimpses we have. Listen, I am still as in doubt about Masters of the Universe as anybody. I really am. The one thing that I'm really holding on to is that it is indeed Travis Knight, who's batting 1,000 right now. So I'll give it that. That's the one thing that gives me hope. So this movie may good. This movie may go bad. But I like what I'm seeing so far. And Rob, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I was actually pretty excited about seeing what this full trailer is going to look like tomorrow. So I like what I see in this. You had a chance to check it out. What did you think?
Look, man, I've been excited for this since we saw the behind the scenes, that long presentation of behind the scenes stuff. The thing that I really liked in this teaser, I think that's Roton, the Skeletor vehicle with the spinning blades, but they redesigned it to have like two separate blades. That's it. That's
it's because, yeah, it goes flat, and then as it spins, it opens up.
Okay. First of all, that's Castle Grayskull, dude.
Yeah, in the background.
Castle Grayskull. I mean, look at the design here. Now, I've been saying this.
It looks good. That looks really good.
I mean, I've been saying this because Guy Dias is one of the most talented production designers I think, working in Hollywood that doesn't work nearly enough for my taste. And, I was able to meet him on X2. He worked on Superman Returns. He did Inception. The fact that he told me, he goes, I've had ideas for designs of various vehicles, and he told me specifically about this, but he wouldn't show me anything. He just goes, you're going to like it when you see it. And there it was. And I'm like, he was not lying. There it is. And there's Castle Grayskull. Bro, come on. I'm in.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit? Reminds me a little bit of Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
The way it's all set up with the one winding thing going to it right there on the cliff and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, that's
assault
so
on
cool.
Castle Grayskull. I mean, look, we've already said many times over the last year, this movie could be epically bad. I mean, of course it could. We know it could be epically bad. We know. But there's also the potential for a lot of fun in this.
Yep.
And I like what I'm seeing so far. I hope it doesn't lean into too much of, don't be Hot Tub Time Machine. Don't be that 70s show. Don't go too little. And I love Hot Tub Time Machine. Don't get me wrong, but don't go too silly. Keep it light. Keep it fun. Have some really cool grr moments to it. Give us an epic scene of Battle Cat ripping some things apart in a PG-13 way, of course. So, it could be bad, but man, I got to say, I'm kind of salivating looking forward to watching this trailer.
We'll know more tomorrow. Hashtag trust in Travis.
Trust Travis.
Trust Travis.
Like trust Travis. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this little teaser we just got from Masters of the Universe? It's not much, but it is the first thing that we've actually got video-wise, and we're getting the full trailer tomorrow. What are you expecting? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this. In the terms of entertainment calendar, obviously, the biggest thing in the world to me is the Oscars, and when they announce the Oscars, which, by the way, is tomorrow morning. So we're going to have the full Oscar nomination. I thought it was today for some reason, but it's tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow morning. So we're obviously going to be talking tomorrow about all the Oscar nominees, the obvious ones, the snubs, all that kind of stuff. But my second favorite day on the entertainment calendar is the Razzies.
Yeah.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, which is tradition, the day before they announce the Oscar nominees, the Razzies have been announced. The nominees, the hallowed, honorable nominees for the Razzies, celebrating the most god-awfulness in film of that year. Now, of course, the Razzies are also a little bit tongue-in-cheek. They do not set out to definitively tell you what the worst is. It's all meant in good fun. And again, the biggest highlight ever, Halle Berry, coming off of her win of Best Actress at the Academy Awards, the following year wins the Razzie for Worst Actress. And I forever became a fan of hers the day she not only got her nomination, she showed up at the Razzie Awards and accepted her Razzie, which to me was the ultimate spirit of the whole damn thing. Let's poke some fun at ourselves. Whatever, I will always love her for that. Anyway, and this year, not a lot of surprise, as the Hollywood Reporter gives us the Razzie Award nominations being led by Snow White and Ice Cube's War of the Worlds, each with 6 nominees each. Now, I will ask all of you to give this moment its due respect. Keep your damn mouths shut. Remove your hats from your heads if you have them, as I go down the sacred duty of reading out the nominees for the Razzies, ladies and gentlemen. So here we go. The nominees for the Razzies, starting with, I believe, Worst Picture. The nominees are The Electric State by the Russo brothers, Hurry Up Tomorrow, that truly deserves to be on this list, by Good Canadian Kid The Weeknd, but that movie was terrible. Disney's Snow White, Star Trek Section 31, which I'm sure gives Rob a lot of joy seeing.
Not on the 60th year of Star Trek's life.
You can never be happy, Rob.
No,
and of course, the all-time classic Ice Cube movie, War of the Worlds.
Hey,
Here, all
he-
bangers. Marcus Y in the live chat says, all bangers.
Hey, man, he didn't make it, so he must be okay.
So-
Or him? Is it him or he?
Him. Yeah, him should have been on this list. But so Electric State, Hurry Up Tomorrow, Snow White, Star Trek 31, and War of the Worlds are our nominees for Worst Picture. Moving on to Worst Actor.
Oh.
Dave Bautista in The Lost Lands. You know what? That kind of sucks because The Lost Lands is based on a comic book that one of my really good friends wrote ages ago. And he got it licensed, got turned into a movie, but whatever. Dave Bautista in The Lost Lands. Ice Cube for War of the Worlds.
100%.
Scott Eastwood for Alarum, which is, you're going to see Alarum get nominated again a little bit later down the list. Jared Leto for Tron Ares.
Don't really understand that one because I don't think he was a bit.
Oh, he was the strong point of the movie.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's the Razzies. Jared Leto for Tron Ares and The Weeknd for Hurry Up Tomorrow. Our nominees for Worst Actress.
Aw.
Academy Award winner Ariana DeBose for Love Hurts. Mila Jovovich in The Lost Lands. Natalie Portman in The Fountain of Youth. That was a terrible movie. Rebel Wilson in Bridehard and Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh for Star Trek Section 31. Our nominees for Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. I love this category. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I would give this one the award for that. Anyways.
Over Smurfs?
Over Smurfs.
Dang.
I really thought Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was terrible. Anyway, Snow White, and of course, Ice Cube's War of the Worlds. Ladies and gentlemen, our nominees for Worst Supporting Actress. I don't know how to say half the names on this list. Anna Chlumsky for Bridehard. Emma Horvath for The Strangers, Chapter 2. Scarlett Rose Stallone for Gunslingers. Casey Roll for Star Trek Section 31. And Isis Valverde for Alarum. We move now into Worst Supporting Actor. And we've got ourselves all 7 artificial dwarves from Snow White. Nicolas Cage in Gunslingers. Stephen Dorff in Bridehard. The great Greg Kinnear, I love Greg Kinnear, in Off the Grid. And another one for Alarum, Sylvester Stallone.
You know, if the dwarves win, they have to do the throwback to the Academy Awards, where it was like the 7 dwarves, like Academy Award. It needs to be 7 little Razzies on one award.
I would love it. I also want to see them break the budget and have CGI dwarves walk up on stage to get it. All right. Worst screen combo.
Oh no.
All 7 dwarves for the Snow White. James Corden and Rihanna in Smurfs. Ice Cube and his Zoom camera for War of the Worlds. Robert De Niro in The Alto Knights.
Oh no.
And The Weeknd and his colossal ego.
I thought the Zoom camera was great until Colossal
The
Eagle.
Weeknd and his colossal ego for Hurry Up Tomorrow.
I'm still going Ice Cube.
All right, and Worst Director.
He really dragged that Zoom camera's performance down.
He dragged down the Zoom camera's performance. Rich Lee for War of the Worlds. I don't know how to pronounce this properly, so I'm not even going to try to butcher it. Osanami writes for who directed Star Trek Section 31. The Russo brothers for The Electric State. Trey Edward Schultz for Hurry Up Tomorrow. And Mark Webb for Snow White. And I think, then we get into Worst Screenplay. The Electric State, Hurry Up Tomorrow, Snow White, Section 31. It got a lot of nominations.
It's War of the Worlds.
And of course, War of the Worlds.
That was the single worst thing I've ever seen in my life. The
nominees. Best duo. Worst duo. The Weeknd and its colossal ego.
Jeez.
Well, listen. I'll be honest with you. At CinemaCon last year, in April, they did a big presentation for Hurry Up Tomorrow. And one of the highlights of the whole convention was The Weeknd himself came out on stage and did a mini impromptu 3-song concert. And it was awesome. It really was. But even just watching the previews, I remember we talked, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, this looks awful, like really bad. And Jenna Ortega's in there too. And all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Rob, a lot of nominees in there. Who's walking away with the big one of Worst Picture of the Year?
Well, you know, for me, it's interesting, John. When I was a kid, my first favorite movie of all time was Byron Haskins' 1953 War of the Worlds. And I It was my favorite movie. It changed my life, to be honest, as did Star Trek. Both of these things I saw when I was around 5 years old, and I moved forward through life being inspired by both of those things. And to see them both on the Razzies this year is telling me something about my life choices. It's explaining to me that perhaps now it's time to move on to whatever that next level is. Maybe I need a new side quest. Maybe I need a new boss battle. But to me, ultimately, it's both sad, depressing, and it makes me want to, stick a teaspoon in my eyeball. But on the other hand, it means there's time for rebirth and change. So I hear it.
Spoon and not a knife.
Let's hear it because I might hit my brain.
No, you're supposed to say, because a spoon is dull. It hurts.
Oh, right.
It hurts more.
But so, look, I've always loved the Razzies. Like you, when Halle Berry came, I thought it was a classy thing. And, Michelle Yeoh can come and bring her Oscar, too.
Hey.
And accept.
Yeah, that's right.
I would love it if she did.
That'd be cool.
I love her,
cool.
by the way.
By the way, it's going to go to War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it's going to go to War of the Worlds.
Although maybe War of the Worlds and Star Trek Section 31 can have split and they can each
Section
win.
31 isn't even going to be in the top 3.
No.
It's either going to be.
Plus, it was really, to be fair, a TV movie.
Yeah, it really was. Disney
Which is another
Snow White,
insult.
I'll be honest, Disney Snow White doesn't belong on this list. It's a bad movie, but it wasn't eyes gouge out bad. It was a bad movie. It was
Electric
bad,
State wasn't either.
But in the spirit of the Razzies,
yeah.
it totally deserves to be on this list.
The Seven Dwarfs from Snow White deserve to be on the list.
You know what? That's one of the I think that's one of the few redeeming things about Snow White. I thought the dwarves worked because they actually looked like the classic animated ones, where if you got physical actors, it wouldn't have. But I also agree with you, Electric State. Electric State is not good. It's a bad movie. Is it one of the 5 worst films of the year? No, but in the spirit of the Razzies, it deserves to have a place on here. So anyway, there you have it, guys. The nominees for the Razzies this year are out there. Who's your big pick to take the big prize? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Now, we all know we've talked a lot about the fact that Netflix is getting ready to close the deal for buying Warner Brothers. Provided Paramount isn't able to come up with an ace out of its sleeve, that's the way it kind of looks like it's going. And over the past couple of months, Ted Sarandos has been going out there and really banging the drum of, we are fully on board with theatrical now. We're totally on board with theatrical. He's gone so far as to say, as soon as we buy Warner Brothers, we're in the theatrical business. We talked about previous comments he made about, we've always been against theatrical because that doesn't work for the Netflix model. That's not us at Netflix. But if we buy Warner Brothers, that is the Warner Brothers model, and we're buying Netflix so we can get into that business. All that kind of stuff. Well, he just made some new comments. Him and his co-CEO just made some new comments. And this most recent one is my favorite of the bunch because they're finally saying something that and I know Rob has agreed with me, have been screaming at the top of my lungs for about 5 years. Let's get to those in a second. First, Ted Sarandos talking about, well, why making all of a sudden the about face on it? This comes to us from Deadline. Explaining why he finally drank the motion picture Kool-Aid, Sarandos said, and I love this, listen to this. This is a business, not a religion. So conditions change and insights change. And we have a culture that we reevaluate things when they do. What do I say in the show all the time? Intelligent people will re-examine their opinions when new information is presented. It's cool to take a position on something, but when new information comes along, it's a religious zealot that goes, it doesn't matter what new information there is. I still believe this. That's fine. But what intelligent people do is if there's new information, well, then we re-examine our positions on things. And I really love this comment. This is a business, not a religion. Markets change, conditions change, and when they do, we evaluate what we are. Anyway, it goes on to say this. He also pointed out other examples of how Netflix started doing things they said they'd never do and has evolved its business attitudes and made pivots. Example, they said they never do live sports. They do sports now. They said they'd never do live streaming. They do live streaming now. They said for the longest time, we will never have ads. Now they have ad tiers. We've debated many times for many years whether we should build a theatrical distribution engine or not. In a world of priority setting and constrained resources, it didn't make the priority cut, which is all fair enough. Continued Sarandos on the Q4 video said, when this deal closes, we'll have the benefit of having a scaled world-class distribution business with more than $4 billion at the global box office. Now, here's the point that we're getting to. And cut to my shot for a second, Jonathan. So for the longest time, one of the things Rob and I have, like this one pillar that we believe is a pillar of truth that we've been screaming for the longest time is, streaming and theatrical are not diametrically opposed. They are natural partners. Because the data has shown for years, what are the most watched movies on streaming? Year in, year out. Movies that have been in theaters. As a matter of fact, when you go past the top 10 of the last 3 years, only 2 out of the top 10 of the last 3 years haven't been theatrical movies that have been in the top 10 of streaming. They are natural partners. They go together, and they are not one or the other. They are not either or. Well, that's why I loved hearing this. The article goes on, we're excited to maintain it and strengthen that business, talking about Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers films will be released in theaters with a 45-day window, just like they are today. Now, prior to Sandros fielding analyst queries on Netflix, changing views on theatrical, his co-CEO, Greg Peters, waved the pom-poms for motion pictures, and he said this, we already know that with existing film output deals, that the theatrical model is an effective complement to the streaming model.
About effing time.
Oh, wow. When did you come up with that little gem of wisdom? We've been saying that for years. Bring it up again. I want to read it again. With existing film output deals, the theatrical model, this is the co-CEO of Netflix, the theatrical model is an effective complement to the streaming model. Better late than never. But I'll tell you what, out of all of the comments we've been hearing coming out of Netflix about, hey, now we've got a distribution engine. When we buy it, we are now in the theatrical business. We are committed to the 45-day standard theatrical window that every other studio does. I like all of those. But to hear Netflix finally acknowledge that they finally get it, the theatrical model is not in opposition to streaming. The theatrical model is not an alternative to streaming. The theatrical model is the complement to the streaming model. The two work hand in hand if you want to have your most ideal success. And it just sounds like Netflix is catching on to this. So anyway, Rob, there's a lot of good things in this Deadline article that I saw and that I like. Which are the things that are standing out to you in it?
Glory, hallelujah is what's standing out to me. I mean, look, understanding that theatrical and movies and all of this are an ecosystem that has many different but there's many different stops on the journey in terms of their profitability. I mean, movies are an ongoing business, and they can earn out. Well, they have a long tail too, and it's great to see that this is what I want them to be talking about when it comes to the acquisition of Warner Brothers. They're talking about movies. They're talking about entertainment. They're not talking about like owning all the media or all the news or all. They're talking about their core business, which is entertainment. And their core business is making movies and TV shows and showing them to people. That's it. That's what they do. That's what they're interested in doing. And that's what Netflix did. I mean, it's wild to think that Netflix used to send people DVDs in the mail. You know, that's what their business started out as.
I used to get 5 at a time.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, and that's what you would get. And they have maintained that core idea. And it's nice to see it continues. That's why I don't hear the same thing coming from Paramount. I've never heard anything about, has Paramount talked about Warner's rich legacy, that they have 100 years behind them of releasing incredible films and they have... all of this great legacy media.
They just keep saying, you'd be happier with us.
Yeah, I mean,
you'd be happier with us.
Yeah, shareholders should go in our direction. Okay, why? What, I mean...
Yeah, he's never given a why.
Paramount currently, the Paramount itself as it exists, is not in the best shape. I mean, they've made deals...
You weren't here. We talked on yesterday's show about how in the last 3 months, Paramount's stock value has dropped nearly 40%.
Yeah.
Now, Netflix has dropped almost like about 20% as well, but obviously Paramount has dropped almost double that. So I don't know. And by the way, to kind of reinforce this notion that they're finally getting it, that the theatrical model is the complement to the streaming model, look at what's happened in the recent news with their deal with Sony. They just signed Netflix just signed I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, but I'm remembering a $7 billion deal.
Something like, yeah.
With Sony, because Sony's theatrical movies, once they go up on Netflix, they shoot to the top of their charts. And Netflix is like, oh, we want more of that. And they signed this massive deal so that these Sony and MGM films are going to go straight to Netflix once they're done the theatrical run, because Netflix has started to recognize that's the most optimal life cycle of a movie. Theaters first. Make all the money you can. Then, feeding off that momentum and energy, bring it to streaming, where it will have a much bigger launch on streaming than it would have if it wasn't in theaters first. They're starting to get it. They've made several moves now with it, with a $7 billion deal with Sony, the acquisition of Warner Brothers. Listen, in 4 months, Rob, just 4 months, I have gone from ranting on my show, Netflix is the Armageddon. This is the worst case scenario if Netflix gets Warner Brothers. Remember that? That was just like 4 months ago. I have legitimately been won over to, this could be really exciting. Not just for theatrical, but for the theatrical to streaming life cycle. This could be really good. And I'm now suddenly in a position, new information, new opinions. I'm now in a position where I'm really kind of excited about Netflix and Warner Brothers. I still want Warner Brothers to not be sold. Like, that's still my first choice. Warner Brothers don't sell to anybody. That's still my first choice. But in the absence of that, I'm now kind of cheering for Netflix to get it. So big 180 there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It seems that even though it's taken like 8 years, Netflix is finally starting to get it. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was a great movie, by the way, in the much maligned era that this has been for the MCU, and I have done some of the maligning, there have been some bright spots, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was absolutely one of them. But you guys will remember that at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the text on the screen did not read, "The Guardians of the Galaxy will return." It wrote, "Star-Lord will return." Well, he hasn't. What's going on with Star-Lord? Well, apparently Chris Pratt still really wants to do it. This comes to us from an article in comicbook.com writing this. Speaking with Screen Time, Pratt was asked which of his iconic roles he'd love to return to. He immediately went to the MCU. "We made a promise with Guardians of the Galaxy that Star-Lord would return," he said. "I think I would really love to make good on that promise." Pratt also played along with the interviewer's humorous pitch for a Star-Lord solo movie called Star-Lord Assemble Music Mission, which is a great idea. Anyway, look. Chris Pratt, I remember going back now so many years when they first made the announcement, number one, that they were doing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, to which everybody said, what the hell's the Guardians of the Galaxy? Little bit of trivia. Guardians of the Galaxy, and nobody knowing anything about it, prompted me, as the guy running AMC Movie News, to reach out to a good friend of mine, I won't name names, but like deeply embedded in the comic book world. I said, hey, you got anybody who really knows Guardians of the Galaxy that I could bring on my show to kind of explain it better than I could, like Guardians of the Galaxy? He says, I know a guy named John Schnepp. I think you guys should connect. So he gave me John Schnepp's number, and Guardians of the Galaxy, I brought John Schnepp on for the first time to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. And then afterwards we went, you know what? That was a lot of fun. We click off each other pretty good. Let's keep doing this. And the rest was history. At any rate, they announced the guy from Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt, was going to be Star-Lord. And I remember thinking it's an odd choice. I mean, I really liked Chris Pratt because I love Parks and Rec, but I mean, it was an odd choice. But I don't have any hesitation saying that his charisma kind of carried Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, all the characters were good. Groot was good. Rocket's good. Gamora was great. Drax is great. They're all great. But I mean, really was truly led by Chris Pratt making that work. And I love this character. I really do. And I think there's a lot of interesting things they've done with him narratively, specifically with his being the offspring of a celestial. I mean, I think there's a lot of really neat things you could do. So I would say this. I really do want to see them bring him back. I don't know if a Star-Lord solo movie works. I don't know that works, but bring him back as a part of an ensemble, because the real strength of Chris Pratt is the way he plays off everybody around. That goes all the way back to Parks and Rec. His ability to play off the people around him. So put him in some kind of an ensemble piece. I would like to see him come back. Rob, I guess there are two questions. You know, Chris Pratt now publicly saying, I really want to come back and do Star-Lord. We got to fulfill that promise. So the first question, as usual, do you think he will come back? And number two, at this point in the MCU's life cycle, should he even come back? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, the thing is that ensemble is so much James Gunn's creation in terms of the way it was brought to life on film. 3 movies in the Christmas special. We are going into a large calamity in the MCU in universe. And if you know the story of Secret Wars, the universe is basically essentially going to be rebooted after the end of Secret Wars.
Whether the MCU follows that story or not, we don't know. I
mean, yeah, but either way, the status quo will be, and we really don't know. Like, I have no idea. But the idea of Star-Lord coming back, who doesn't like Chris Pratt? I really like Chris Pratt, and I think that there's something to be said for his, like you said, his charisma. He was a very different guy. You know, he gets in shape and looks different and brings a different. When you see him dancing at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy before he goes and grabs the Infinity Stone, I was in. I'd seen him in things like, I loved him in Moneyball, and he had turned in some great performances, not just in Parks and Rec, but in other things. He's a great screen presence. And I want to say, John, I'm going to see Mercy tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to watching it.
I'm going to see Mercy.
I have my doubts about that movie.
Oh, I do too, but I'm going to see a double feature of Mercy and Silent Hill.
You know, a lot of people forget about Chris Pratt?
Because I can.
What was the James, not James Mangold, James, why am I forgetting James' last name? He just played Professor Charles Xavier. James McAvoy.
Mr. Tumnus.
James McAvoy movie, I think it was called Wanted.
Oh, yeah. Based on the comic.
Chris Pratt was his asshole friend who was cheating on his girl. To go all the way back. By the way, one of my favorite Chris Pratt moments. This one time, Chris Pratt and came into my studio and hung out there for the whole day. It's like to do some interviews with me and to do a Q&A on Twitter from our office. So we were hanging out and I was talking to him about like a whole bunch of stuff and everything like that. And then we got around to, then the next time we got together was at Guardians of the Galaxy. And I remember talking to him about the body physical change he went through to be in Star-Lord shape. Because you remember Parks and Rec, he was kind of chubby. And he talked about how it was his birthday when they were shooting and they brought out a vegetable cake and all that kind of stuff. And he was joking around about it, about like, yeah, you got to really commit to it because, you got to look a certain way if you're going to be a comic book superhero, blah, blah, blah. So afterwards, we're hanging out in the green room. And I said to him, I said, that really is kind of remarkable. Like, I said, seriously, man, kudos to you. The physical change is remarkable. He said, yeah, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. He goes, I hate it so much. I hated that so much. I will never go through that again. I'm like, what? Like the whole thing of cutting out everything I love in my life, cutting out the ice cream and cutting out the all that and doing this. He goes, I have to stay in this shape now because I will never go through that again. I just thought that was one of the most, and you know what? I like this guy so much, Rob. I will even forgive that he's a Seattle Seahawks fan.
Well,
a hardcore Seattle Seahawks fan.
I don't know Chris Pratt at all, but I'm going to send him an email when we win the Super Bowl. How about that?
Oh, I don't think you guys are getting by the Rams.
Jedi Knights, the Pacific Northwest.
I'll say this. Whoever wins the game between Seattle and the Rams next weekend, they're winning the Super Bowl. I don't think, clearly not the Broncos, and I don't even think the Patriots can beat either the Seahawks or the Rams.
I think if you look at the record, I heard this week that the Rams and the Seahawks, if you look at their record, they're almost even in terms of how many times they've beat one another.
And they're 1-1 this year, going into round 3. Anyway, Chris Pratt, big fan. Anyway, whatever you guys think about this, do you want to see him come back as Star-Lord? Do you think he will come back as Star-Lord? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we've got February's coming up. We're more than halfway through January already. We're coming up to February. Got some new movies coming out. We got the Oscar nominations tomorrow. So I thought those would be a good couple of things to talk to our friend Sean Chandler from Sean Chandler Talks About Movies fame. You've, of course, seen him on the show. And so this is my little conversation with our friend Sean. All right, Sean, thanks for doing this, man. It's good to have you here. It's always good to see you. So listen, February is traditionally kind of considered a dump month for movie releases, but there are a couple of interesting looking things coming out. What 2 or 3 films do you have your eye on that's coming out in February?
I'm cheating on this first one. It's called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
Oh, that looks so good.
From Gore Verbinski. And I actually saw it back in September at Fantastic Fest, and it was my favorite movie of the festival.
Oh, that's awesome.
Weird, it's quirky. I'm very curious how it'll play for general audiences. If you just read the synopsis, it sounds like The Terminator, but it's so wildly different from the experience of watching The Terminator. But me and almost everyone I talked to at the festival had a blast with it. If you like weird stuff, be on the lookout for that one. Crime 101. This is a crime thriller, but like with Chris Hemsworth, Halle Berry, Mark Ruffalo, Nick Nolte's in there, like a Barry Keoghan is in there, just like a star-studded cast. So I'm just curious, like what drew that many awesome names to this specific project? And then Scream 7. Scream's one of my favorite horror franchises. And the guy that wrote the original film is directing this one. Nev Campbell is coming back. So I'm just very curious as to what they're going to do with it, and hope they have something fresh and new for the 7th entry.
Yeah, I know that Crime 101, that's one of the new Amazon films under their new banner that they're doing. So that's a really interesting one to keep our eyes on. All right, let's move on to this. So Marvel came out the other day and they announced that those 4 little Doomsday trailers they put out, the Steve Rogers one, the Thor, the Wakandans with the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men one, they're saying that those things got a combined over 1 billion views. When you see that, what does that tell you about maybe the anticipation level out there, considering this movie is still a full year away? And what does it maybe tell you about how they may approach marketing this film over the next year?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at a number of the films over the last few years that maybe underperformed. All 3 of their movies last year probably didn't do as well as they'd hoped. But the Avengers label, that brand, that franchise, that is still a powerful one.
Yeah.
And people loved the way they felt with Infinity War. They loved the way they felt about Endgame. And they still have hope that maybe some of that can be rekindled in their hearts. Where you just look at it, people have their skepticism. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone is curious. And that's key, because there's so many of these TV shows people just don't even care about.
Yeah.
But Avengers, Robert Downey Jr. coming back, everyone cares. And like for me, I found the chairs and the 4 teasers to be kind of like a very strange, bizarre strategy. But everyone is talking about this movie a year before release. And everyone has opinion about it. I have a 13-year-old son. His friends don't normally talk to me about Marvel movies. Everyone has an opinion about Avengers Doomsday. And being a year out, kind of like what will their strategy look like? The big glaring thing here is they still have so much left in the tank.
Yeah.
That they did not even show Robert Downey Jr. They got 1 billion views. Their ace up the sleeve is Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. You just show his face, him as Doom. That's the headline. They've still got that ace up the sleeve, and they got 1 billion views. And so, like, I have my concerns, my skepticism. The numbers don't lie. People are paying attention. They care. They're curious in a way they haven't been for a lot of MCU projects for a while.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have been a little bit skeptical about how would it be received. And clearly, like you're pointing out, the reception is pretty overwhelming right now. All right, so let me ask you this.
Even if it's just interest, like
Yeah.
everyone wants, even if they're like, oh man, I think it's going to be terrible, but I can't stop paying attention. I'm of course going to watch it so I can tell you how bad it was, but everyone is, no matter where they're coming from.
All right. Well, tomorrow is that one day on the calendar that everybody in the industry has circled. It's the day they announce the Academy Award nominations. And one of the really interesting categories this year is going to be the race for Best Actor. And I think through the entire award season, it's clear it's a 3-horse race. It's Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another. It's Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme. And it's Michael B. Jordan for 2 different roles in Sinners. Who do you see having kind of the inside lane on this? Who do you think's the favorite to win? And if you were an Oscar voter today, which one of these guys would be getting your vote?
I feel like right now the front runner is Timothy. If you just look at, he won Critics' Choice, he won one of the Golden Globe categories, and so there's just a number of ways where he's got that momentum. He's collecting the statues in a number of different ways. And then I even was kind of looking at the betting odds, and the betting odds had him well over 50%. And so as of right now, where is the momentum? It feels like it's with Timothy. For me, if I were to vote right now, I think I'm going Michael B. Jordan. I rewatched Sinners. I was at Critics' Choice, and then my takeaway from that was like, I want to rewatch Sinners. And so just rewatched it. And I think the key thing is there, he is playing 2 parts. One of his 2 parts is 2 parts in and of itself.
Right.
And it's easy to overlook the fact that like it's an action movie and the swagger, the charisma. And every 10, 15 minutes, it pauses for him to have like just a very personal moment, a love story, a story of loss, a story about his relationship with his brother that's friendly, it's combative, and then it's, I lost him too. There's so much emotion. There's 2 different performances, and you have to see 2 different hymns that are very similar, and you do. And so there's so much in there, and he sells it. And it's the sort of role that it's easy to overlook because it's a genre film and the vampires, the action, and he makes it seem, I saw someone tweet this out, that are we overlooking Michael B. Jordan just because he makes it look so effortless?
Oh, yeah.
Because he so easily falls into this role and hits all of the right emotions. He's just so good in it. And so that's the one I'm leaning towards right now, but it's 3 amazing performances. That's why it's always so tough to pick.
It's going to be such a great category to keep our eyes on. And who knows, maybe there could be a dark horse in there too. Anyway, Sean, thanks so much for taking the time to do this, man. Really appreciate it. It's always nice to be able to talk to you. And I hope you'll come back and do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. And big thanks to our buddy Sean Chandler for taking some time to chat with us here. And we're sure we'll have him back on again sometime soon. All right, guys. With that all down, and by the way, guys, make sure you, we've been kind of experimenting with bringing people for just a couple of minutes, short chats. Let me know in the live chat if you like us doing that and if you think we should continue doing that or not. All right. With that all down and out of the way, guys, we figured today would be a good day to play ourselves a little round of overreaction.
Ooh, boy.
Here's how this works. We simply asked you guys a little bit earlier on our YouTube channel to fire in some hot takes that you have. And then Rob and I are going to adjudicate whether your hot take is an overreaction or not. Jonathan picked out a bunch of your hot takes. So, Jonathan, what do we got up first?
First up, Rob, is an overreaction. We hear from Cinegeek PR. Toy Story 5 will surpass Zootopia 2 at the box office.
I think that's an overreaction. I think that that's a long way to go. I mean, Zootopia 2 has become the most successful animated film ever theatrically released for MPA film, not Nisa 2.
The Nisa 2.
Kidding.
If you
Just
buy that,
kidding.
I got swampland to sell you in Florida.
I mean, I just don't see it happening. I don't look. Toy Story 5 could be the greatest Toy Story movie ever made. It could be the greatest animated film ever made. However, that does not mean it's going to surpass. Zootopia 2 is a phenomenon, and I don't think it can do it. I think it's an overreaction.
You know what? I'm going to say it's not an overreaction. You know, I know why? Because while I thought Inside Out 2 would be really big, and while I thought Zootopia 2 would be really big, I didn't see either of them being as big as they were. And I am getting out of the business of underestimating how big a Disney animated project can be, whether it's Pixar umbrella or it's Disney animation umbrella. Both Inside Out and Zootopia 2 surprised us. It surprised everybody. We all knew it'd be big, but that big, 1.7, biggest animated film of all time. Look, will Toy Story 5 surpass it? I'm not saying it's an automatic lock at all. It all depends on how good the movie is. But at this point, I don't necessarily think it's an overreaction to say it just might. It's got a much longer legacy than Zootopia does. It's not just going to get people out bringing their kids. It's going to have people coming out who watched it themselves and loved it 15, 20 years ago,
Sure.
right? So is it a lock? No. But is it an overreaction? After Zootopia 2, I'm going to say no. It's not an overreaction. We'll see. All right. What's next?
All right, John, going back to you now. Is this an overreaction from Nico S., who says IMAX will lose more money playing Dune exclusively on IMAX than if they shared screens with Avengers Doomsday?
You know what? My first reaction is to say that's not an overreaction, because obviously Avengers is going to be the bigger movie, right? But when you actually think about it, that's an overreaction. Why? Because there's only so many IMAX screens.
Right.
And like Dune Part 2 opened to $80 million. That's plenty to more than fill all the IMAX screens. Look, the reality is this. My contention is that whether the IMAX screens were playing Dune Part 3 or playing Avengers Doomsday, they're selling out.
They're not multiplexes.
Yeah, they're selling out. You don't unlike a regular multiplex, you can't just add another screening. They've only got so many screens, and I think they're selling out regardless. So I'm actually going to say that even though Avengers is going to be the much bigger movie overall, there's more than enough people going to go see Dune that's going to sell out the IMAXs. So I'm going to say it's an overreaction. Rob, what about you?
I totally agree with you, because both of those movies are going to pack in. They're both experiential events, as you put it. And look, I know they've talked about the fact that Dune's going to have all those screens. But I think IMAX is going to come around and figure out a way to, if it's truly a Dunesday, John, I think IMAX is going to jump on the bandwagon and give us Dunesday.
Contracts are signed. They can't.
That doesn't mean people can't work it out. You can always work it out.
I mean, that's how I would have done it. If I was IMAX, I would have said, let's say we have 50 screens, 25 for you, 25 for you. Let's roll. Let's go make some money. But they're all going Dune. But like, remember, Dune Part 2, when it came out in IMAX, it sold out IMAX for weeks.
I know.
And so sellout is sellout. It doesn't get much.
They don't care.
So they don't care. It's so
Dune, by the way, Dune was overwhelming in IMAX. I loved it so much.
So beautiful in IMAX.
It was incredible. I mean, look, Doomsday is going to be incredible too, but in a different way. Like the thing about Dune is it's so dude, the more I see those movies and I go back and watch them a lot, physical media and stuff, I'm convinced they actually went to Arrakis and shot. They're that immersive.
Somebody in the live chat who's not paying much attention, Alex Vagda in the live chat saying, you think Avengers will not sell out IMAX? Yes, of course it would.
Yeah.
We're saying because there's so few screens, they're both going to sell out IMAX.
Right.
So to IMAX, it makes no difference. They're selling out their theaters either way. So yeah, I'm going to call it an overreaction. All right. What's next?
All right, Rob. Is this an overreaction? We're going to hear from Denji, who says James Gunn should direct Batman Brave and the Bold instead of Andy Muschietti.
I disagree with that. I think that's an overreaction. I think, look, Andy, we're going to talk about this later, but I think Andy Muschietti, I mean, first of all, did you watch Welcome to Derry? That was
God.
dope.
I think he turned a lot of people around with Welcome to Derry.
Andy Muschietti is, look, he made It 1 and It 2. It 2 is not as good, and look, I don't care what the haters say. Flash is good.
It's a really fun movie. I thoroughly enjoyed Flash.
And the thing about Flash is, I think it succeeded in what it tried to do. And if you move, I think a lot of it, and people are going to come at me, bro. And
I'm on your side. I liked.
And I finally figured
I was entertained by it.
I was
really
told
fun.
that Sasha Kaye is how you pronounce her last name.
Kaye.
And she was tremendous. Look, Ezra Miller, I think, is a great performer. I like him as Flash. I love Michael Keaton as Batman in that movie. It might not have been the perfect film. You brought Zod back. I loved Flash.
Oh yeah, it wasn't perfect at all.
No,
but we walked out really entertained.
I was really entertained by it. I own the 4K disc. I've watched it. I am an unapologetic Flash liker. So I don't have a problem with it. I think Andy Muschietti's a talented filmmaker. He's, I'm all okay. I don't think James Gunn should direct Brave and the Bold. I don't necessarily think James Gunn's the right director for Brave and the Bold.
Well, I mean, look, for me, I am also going, this is an overreaction for two different reasons. One, as Rob just so eloquently said, did you watch Welcome to Derry? I mean, look, if you, even if it's fair, if you didn't like Flash, that's fair. Movies are subjective. If you didn't like it, that's fine. But so even if Flash shook you on him a little bit, Welcome to Derry should have put that all to rest. I mean, Welcome to Derry was brilliant. So I'm going to say it's an overreaction because of that. But it's also an overreaction because you mentioned James Gunn taking the director's chair. And I think James Gunn, as the head of the studio, needs to be spending less time in the director's chair and more time in his executive chair, shepherding the whole DCU rather than spending more and more time. He already directed Superman. He's going to be directing Man of Tomorrow. So, let's keep him out of the director's chair for a while. So I'm going to sit back here and call it an overreaction. All right, what's next?
John, is this an overreaction when we hear from Little Lions Everywhere? How cute. Frozen 3 will be the highest grossing animated movie of 2027.
Okay, look, on its surface, it's hard to call that an overreaction. It's hard. Until two things. Spider-Verse 3, which if you looked at the box office jump from Spider-Verse 1 to Spider-Verse 2, if it does that same kind of jump, we're talking a film that's going to be in the $1 billion club. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying if it follows that pattern. We also got a green monster called Shrek coming. Shrek 5. Dude, if you had any doubt about how much people are looking forward to watching Shrek, number one, have lunch with my former assistant Taylor. He'll tell you. But number two, when I watched that latest Puss in Boots movie, which was really good, by the way, at the end of it, when the camera pans around and shows that they're sailing to far, far away, the audience lost its mind, like J. Jonah Jameson coming up on screen at the end of the Spider-Man movie. Like, they lost their minds. And then 3, and maybe the biggest kaiju of them all, a little fucking Australian dog, Bluey, has an animated movie coming. And look, I don't know what's going to happen with that. Like, maybe it doesn't do so big because everybody can watch Bluey for free at home, or maybe it becomes, I don't know, the first $2 billion animated film. I don't know. So I'm going to call handing the trophy right now to Frozen 3, as huge as that movie's going to be. Right now, I'm going to call it an overreaction. You cannot just discount the third Spider-Verse. You can't just discount Shrek 5. And you certainly can't discount this little freaking dog. So I'm going to say for now, it's an overreaction. It's got a chance, but that's an overreaction. Rob, what about you?
I totally agree with you. I mean, I don't see Spider-Verse being a threat to it, but I do see Bluey, Shrek, and Frozen 3 in a horse race. That's a horse race. Or if you live in the Pacific Northwest, that's like the Miss Budweiser and the Pay and Pack back in the 70s battling it out. Those are unlimited hydroplanes, by the way. It is going to be one hell of a year for animated films, and all I know is there's a lot of money that's going to be thrown around. And I can't wait to see who wins.
All right. What's next?
Okay, Rob. Here we go. Dennis Furio, overreaction or not, Hunt for Gollum will match the grandeur of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, far surpassing the Hobbit trilogy and Rings of Power seasons, both in terms of cinematic experience and box office success.
Someone is out there chumming the water, trolling for an answer. No, that is a complete ridiculous overreaction. You know what? Hunt for Gollum could be the greatest film ever made. It truly could. But it will never surpass the grandeur and eclipse Lord of the Rings.
I don't think he said that it would. I think he said it would surpassing Hobbit. He's saying it would surpass the Hobbit.
And Rings of Power, but match the grandeur of Lord of the Rings.
No, it will not.
That's an overreaction.
No. That is an overreaction. First of all, the very idea of the story, you're talking about the apocalypse. You're talking about the end of the world. You're talking about, a group of people, a disparate group of strange people that had no business ever getting together as a fellowship in the first place. There's no way ever in the history of cinema Could that ever happen? Ever? Even if Hunt for Gollum is the greatest movie in the world, simply because the very story it's telling does not have the scope and grandeur of the Lord of the Rings story. It's a different kind of story.
Yeah, I'm going to say this isn't an overreaction.
You're out of your mind.
And the reason I'm going to say it's not an overreaction is this. Particularly on the half about it surpassing The Hobbit. First of all, you got Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens. They're writing it. They're writing this movie. And they are producing it. They are fully involved in this film. And of course,
Same as they were with the Hobbit movies.
Right. But, and that leads to my next point. You got to remember when Peter Jackson made the Hobbit movies, he was physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything completely exhausted. And he never planned on directing those movies.
Nope.
He never wanted to. It was supposed to be Guillermo del Toro was supposed to direct those films. And after a number of delays, his schedule just didn't allow it. And all of a sudden, Peter Jackson found himself in a spot that he didn't want to be in. And he had to step in and direct it to save the project. And he was just not in a place to do it. And now time has passed. He's had tons of time to sit on this. He hasn't directed anything since, partially because, as we found out this weekend, because his longtime director of photography died and he just couldn't bring himself to direct something again without him. He said he will soon. I think we're going to have a revived, renewed, reinvigorated Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh and their team bring something really special, easily surpassing The Hobbit. And if it can come close to the scale and the grandeur of Lord of the Rings, I don't think that's
But he's not directing the movie.
No, but he's writing it. He's hands-on. He's on set, and his second unit director is directing it. So it comes as close as going to be possible. So I'm going to say, now, is it going to be, I'm not saying it's going to be the next Lord of the Rings, but can it way elevate above The Hobbit and get close to that? I'm going to say that's not an exaggeration. That's not an overreaction. All right. What's next?
Here's our final one, John. Is this an overreaction when we hear from Josh? Dune 2 will make more money than it was originally going to because of Dunesday.
This is one of those funny things where I think my mind has been changed.
Ooh.
I have been very skeptical, and I've been saying I don't know that it's the right move to do Dunesday. I've said that publicly. I've been very clear about that. But I'm telling you what, the response to Dunesday and the reactions to Dunesday and the hype surrounding Dunesday is making me start to question that this might be a situation of the rising tide raises all ships. And so, you know what? I'm going to reverse course on this. I've just seen how excited people seem to be about it. And what is box office if not people getting excited and thus going out to buy tickets? I'm going to say it's not an overreaction to say Dune 3 is going to make more money now than it would have if it just released on its own. So I'm going to jump on the bandwagon with it and say that's not an overreaction. Rob, what about you?
I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. And I think, I think what's great is both of these movies, I'm just going to assume based on Dune 1 and Dune 2 that Dune 3 is going to be spectacular. Absolutely spectacular and epic. Now, we already know, I mean, it's so funny because I've been watching all these Doomsday leak reaction videos none of them, not anyone, and I've watched them all, have come close to how good the story of Doomsday actually is. Like they've got a lot of it, and I think both films are going to be they're both going to be such satisfying experiences in different ways. I mean, they're both trying to do very different things, but as fantasy, sci-fi, epic stories providing experiential events, people are going to walk out of, I would assume, both of those movies shook, because Dune 3 is going to shake you because it's not going to end in a way that it's going to leave you with a smile on your face.
Let's not get too much away.
Well, no, if you read the books. I mean, I'm just saying Dune 3 it's going to leave people shook. And I think that Doomsday will leave people shook because of just how satisfying it's going to be. But I mean, I think people are going to, and they're the first thing people are going to do are going to go back and see these movies again. And I think it's going to get a lot of people. Look, when you have an event like this, people that don't normally love movies go with their friends. They get dragged along like, I don't want to go to the movies, but it's kind of like it's a cultural event. They'll go. And in this case, I think both of these cultural events will provide such a great experience for people that you'll even get people that might not have been or on the fence, or maybe they'll go because they're going to hear how great these movies are. And better than that, people are going to go back and rediscover the first two Dune movies that might not have watched them because it wasn't their thing.
People will come, Ray.
People will come, Ray. People will definitely come.
All right, guys. And that will
Baseball.
wrap up today's session of Overreaction. Thank you to everybody who sent in their hot takes. Keep your guys' eyes open on the YouTube channel for when we put out our call for your hot takes. And maybe see your hot take on our next installment of Overreaction. All right. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Well, we were just talking about in our Overreaction segment about whether Dune can actually make more money than it would have if it wasn't a part of Dunesday. But I've been, kind of hit with a lot of questions. Is it still a good idea for them to do Dunesday, having not just two big movies, because it worked for Barbenheimer, but these are two big movies that are both trying to appeal to the same kind of audience. And that's definitely not what Barbenheimer did. So can it work? Can it not? And the big question becomes, how big can that weekend be? As a matter of fact, one of our viewers asked me straight up, could Dunesday be the biggest weekend in box office history? Could it be the biggest weekend in box office history? Well, of course, in order to even contemplate that question, we have to get the vagueness out and actually put some numbers to it. Like, how big would the weekend need to be in order for it to be the biggest weekend in box office history? Because right now, the two biggest weekends in the history of the box office are these. The weekend,
is this domestic or worldwide?
talking domestic, because you
Okay.
can only,
I just want to be clear.
yeah. And for the audience, the reason why it's foolhardy to talk about worldwide opening weekend is because every movie opens in a different number of countries. One movie may open in 15 countries one weekend. One movie may open in 65 countries in one weekend. It's it's folly to even try to talk about that. That's why whenever we're talking about opening weekend, we are always talking about domestic opening weekend, because that's the only way to compare apples to apples. So with that said, the biggest opening weekend, not just the biggest opening weekend, the biggest weekend, period, in cinematic history right now is this: the weekend of April 26th through the 28th in 2019. It made $402 million at the box office, with 357 of that being the opening of Avengers Endgame, 8.3 million of it coming from Captain Marvel. That was in its 8th week, by the way. Captain Marvel was in its 8th week and still at number 2. And in third place that weekend was The Curse of La Llorona at $8 million.
La Llorona.
For a grand total of $402 million. Now, the second biggest weekend in box office history was July 21st through the 23rd, 2023. That weekend made $311.4 million. Barbie, that was the Barbenheimer weekend.
Right.
Barbie made $162 million of that. Oppenheimer made $82.4 million of that. And Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning made $19.8 million of that. So, in asking the question, can Dunesday become the biggest opening weekend of all time? We are asking, can it surpass that 311 of 2023? And can it pass this 402 million of the April 26th through 28th weekend of 2019? All right. Let's break it down to the X's and O's, shall we?
Ooh.
Putting aside all the other movies that are going to be in theaters already that weekend. So put that aside for a second. Can the combination of Doomsday and Dune 3 make $400 million? Okay. Endgame made $357 million. I don't think Doomsday is making that much opening weekend. But could it make $300 million? Like $57 million less? I don't think that's impossible. I don't think a $300 million opening for Doomsday. I did think that three months ago. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. Now I kind of believe that $300 million opening weekend might be in the cards. Okay, so significantly less than Endgame, but still $300 million. Can Dune 3 make $100 million? Well, let's look at the pattern. Dune 1, Rob, just see if just gonna.
I was just looking this up.
Oh, well, if you looked it up, then I can't ask you the question.
Oh.
Dune 1 made $41 million in its opening weekend. It doubled for the second one. Dune 2 made over $80 million. And it, I believe, is the best film of the last 10 years. So it doubled its box office from 1 to 2. Is it out of the question that Dune 3 could make $100 million opening weekend? I don't think that's a stretch at all. I don't think it's remotely a stretch. So theoretically speaking, if the believable circumstance that Doomsday makes $300 million opening weekend, still significantly less than Endgame, but still, and if it is conceivable that Dune 3 can make $100 million, well, it's going to easily top that $402 million mark, because then you got to add in the 20, 30, 40 other $1 million that's going to be made from the residual of all the other movies that are already in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So can we sit here and say that it will become the biggest weekend in the history of box office? We can't definitively say that. There's several things that could go wrong here. As a matter of fact, you know, if the first big trailer for Doomsday comes out and it's not very good, I mean, that could throw a lot of cold water on this. But I'm going to sit here right now and say, you know what, Rob? It's possible. I'm going to say right now, it is possible that Doomsday does become the biggest weekend in the history of the box office. Anyway, talking about a lot of numbers here. Down to it now. What's your gut saying? Can Doomsday beat that $402 million mark for the biggest weekend in box office history?
Well, like you said, it's a possibility. I would not immediately discount it. You're talking about the biggest weekend of all time domestically. But with Avengers Doomsday could very well at least make, I could see it getting to 300 million depending on how many screens. And then you only need Dune to make 110, 120.
By the way, the brand new Jumanji movie is going to be in its second or third week.
I have a list here if you want to hear it.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, in its fourth weekend, we'll just go 4 weeks back. In its fourth weekend, you're going to have Hunger Games Sunrise on
That's
the
still going to be
Rebin.
making a little bit of money.
You're going to have Disney's Hexed animated film. Don't know how that'll be or not.
Unknown.
Fokker and Law won't be that much, but that'll be in its third weekend. Violent Night will be in its second weekend.
Now it's going
But Jumanji 3 will be in its second weekend. And then Avengers and then Dune 3.
So you
I
figure between Jumanji 3 and Hunger Games and those films underneath, I think you can count on 30 million.
At least.
30 to
if
40
Jumanji's
million?
in its second weekend, even if it drops 50%,
And we don't know how good.
Well, it's going to drop 70%. It's going to drop 70%.
Even if it drops 70%, then you still think...
I'm thinking 30, 40 extra million on top of what Dune and Doomsday make is realistic.
Which means that Avengers Doomsday only has to make 270.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then whatever other... I think it's a possibility.
Yeah. I think it is far more like, again, if you had asked me this question a month ago, I would have said absolutely not. I still don't think it's a good idea to release both of these movies on the same day and blah blah blah. But today, with like the new information and seeing how the audiences react to it, I think it might be possible. Again, I wouldn't bet money on it.
No.
But I wouldn't bet money against it either.
Although I might put $100 on the poly market on this.
All right,
Jumanji
guys.
3 is going to have a massive drop for its second weekend.
70% minimum. 70%
I'm on the waiting list,
drop.
by the way.
But I bet you Jumanji 3 is going to make a lot of money on its opening weekend. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you think Doomsday, December 18th, that weekend, could end up being the biggest weekend in the history of the box office, eclipsing the 402 million of the opening weekend that saw Avengers Endgame come in, still had Captain Marvel and others? Do you think it can do it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. One of the more hotly anticipated upcoming DC projects is, of course, Batman. Specifically, Batman, the Brave and the Bold. that they announced a long time ago. It hasn't been greenlit yet, but they said they were working on it and they're still got a script coming together. And listen, everybody knows who watches this show, I'm a big James Gunn fan. I don't like all of his stuff because I like James Gunn. I like James Gunn because I like all of his stuff. It's really that simple. I don't think he's missed yet. I really don't. And he's done nothing but reaffirm why it's totally valid to have absolute faith in him. But as a diehard Gunnanite, somebody who really, really likes James Gunn, I have to question his sanity a little bit right now. Because there's a new report that's come out, and it's been validated by a few other sources as well. It hasn't been officially confirmed by DC or by James Gunn, but it sounds like this is true, that they have their writer for Batman Brave and the Bold. And I don't like the choice. This comes to us from the folks over at comicbookmovie.com who wrote, pushed for updates on the Brave and the Bold. DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn has repeatedly said that the script is being worked on. The Flash Helmer Andy Muschietti remains attached to direct, and it sounds like he'll be reunited with writer Christina Hodson. All right. I don't love this name for a couple of reasons. One, I like Flash. I am unapologetic about it. It's gotten like an 81% audience rating. I think it's a very entertaining movie. That said, it also has a bunch of people who didn't like it, but that's neither here nor there. Dodson also wrote Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I hated that movie. And more specifically, I thought it was poorly written. She also wrote the Batgirl movie that was judged to be so horrendously bad, even though Warner Brothers paid for it and produced it, they said, we can't release this to the public. It's that bad. And Rob, both you and I who have spoke to people who actually did view it and confirmed for us, it was really that bad. They couldn't do anything. Now, how much of it was in the production? How much of it was the writing of it? I'll never know because I didn't see it. But you got The Flash, which wasn't universally loved. I liked it, but I hated the Harley Quinn movie. The Batgirl movie was judged so bad it couldn't even be released. And I understand, having teams work together, like Andy Muschietti and her work together on Flash. I get that. But I got to tell you, Rob, this is the first time I'm catching myself. Aside from, me having my doubts about whether James himself should be directing as much as he is and should really spend more time in his executive office shepherding the whole DCU. Aside from that, this is the first big creative decision I am really questioning his sanity on this. I do not think this is a good pick. Now, having said that, I acknowledge there's a very good possibility that literally Dodson came into his office and gave a dynamite pitch for it. And if it's the best pitch, then yeah, sign her up to write it. Again, I'm just saying there's definitely worse. But I have not been in love with her overall body of work as a writer right now, particularly in the comic book genre. And again, I'm saying, don't take me as some DC hater. I'm a huge James Gunn fan, but I am questioning his sanity on this a little bit. I'm feeling nervous about it. I am always going to give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't let me down yet. Not once. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on it. And I will say, okay, let's see what you got. But if I'm being honest right now, my first reaction to hearing her being put on the writer onto Batman Brave and the Bold, I don't think this is the right move. It makes me nervous for the project. Again, I'll give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt that she must have given him a hell of a pitch. But I'm nervous, Rob, and I haven't been this nervous about anything in the James Gunn sphere in a long time. I don't like this pick. Anyway, Rob, you heard about this. Make me feel better about it.
Well, I mean, first of all, she was her scripts appeared multiple times on the blacklist. you know, which people,
Which is a
the
really
best
great
scripts-
show.
Yeah, no, not the TV show. The actual
Oh.
blacklist of the best scripts in
Oh,
Hollywood.
right. Yes.
So she's a blacklist writer that's shown up multiple times. I think she wrote a movie. Didn't she write a movie called Shut In with Naomi Watts, which I thought was pretty interesting? And I think, look at it this way. There have been multiple times that Warner Brothers has gone back to her for things. And if you're a studio, and I understand that a lot of the time, studio writers, their films don't turn out necessarily the way we've wanted them to for various reasons. Now, I really liked The Flash. I thought there was a lot of really creative stuff in there. I liked a lot of the character stuff. I think there's a reason Warner Brothers continues to go back to the well. I mean, and James Gunn has said, our primary focus is on scripts. Now, the finished films that get made from writers often don't necessarily reflect their writing in the finished movies. But at the studio level, I mean, look, I hate to bring him up. Akiva Goldsman wrote like Lost in Space, which is one of the worst big budget, it was from New Line. But then he won an Academy Award for A Beautiful Mind. So studio writing can be a little hit and miss. And if James Gunn is betting on her, I would say she probably has something. Now, I have not read her Blacklist scripts, but I would say finding herself on the Blacklist is a pretty good indication of how she can write, the quality of her writing. So in this case, I would tend to, we talked earlier in the show about betting on Gunn. I would bet on James Gunn. In Gunn, we trust. The same way that we trust in Travis Knight.
She's apparently working with Ron Howard coming up too.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I would say that she probably is a great writer whose work has not been represented well in its finished form.
Now,
Maybe.
the scope of my conversation has been her comic book genre writing.
Yeah.
I also would be remiss if I say, okay, now again, all my apprehensions about her track record in the comic book writing. Now, she did write a movie I unapologetically love, which was not in the comic book genre, which was Bumblebee,
Right.
that she did with Travis Knight.
And she was part of that Transformers story group that they brought in.
That did
they had-
Transformers 1?
Well, no, that they brought in a group after Transformers 5.
Right, to try to map out a
and
new
she was
future?
working with Michael Chabon on something recently, another story group. I don't know what that was for. But so she's got a pretty good pedigree in terms of her writing.
So again, could this go well? Yes, it could go well. Like I said, I like Flash and I do love Bumblebee, but again, just in the realm of comic book writing, she did that Harley Quinn movie and I hated it. And Batgirl was deemed unreleasable.
Dude, I hated the Harley Quinn movie.
Oh God, I hated it so much. And I wanted to like it so much. You know, that whole DCEU era, there's only 2 movies I didn't like. Only 2, Harley Quinn and Wonder Woman 1984. That's it. I liked every other film in the DCEU. But so I don't know. I'm going to be really nervous. And what I'm hoping happens, because let's not forget, the guys that Kevin Feige brought in to do this little movie called Captain America and the Winter Soldier were the guys who made You, Me, and Dupree. And look how that turned out. Pretty damn good turned out. So maybe that'll be this. But I listen, you know, guys, I always just have to be honest with you. No matter how big of a James Gunn fan I am, no matter how much I love the DCU right now, and I'm going to trust in Gunn, I always have to be honest with you. And honestly, I don't feel great about this choice. But there's some
also,
upside. We'll see.
She is teaming up with Andy Muschietti again. So they have a good working relationship, and I look, having liked the Flash, I think Flash is unfairly maligned for a lot of different reasons, but I would trust in Gunn on this one.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? The reports going around, it needs to be said again, it hasn't been officially confirmed by James Gunn or DC, but there are multiple reports going around saying that it's Christina Hodson has been picked of Batgirl and Flash and of Harley Quinn fame, is going to be writing the Batman movie. I don't like the choice, but trust Gunn, I guess. Oh, however you guys feel about it, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. with that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we will bid good afternoon to the bringer of joy, writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Silent Hill and Mercy tomorrow, John, and I'm going to see you first.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Mercy. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? What do we got up first?
Nerdy Beard Man asks, is the Dune IMAX screen exclusivity only domestic? No,
I think it's worldwide.
it's worldwide, it's global.
Yep, I'm pretty sure it's just a flat deal with IMAX.
Yeah.
So I think it's worldwide. The first 3 weeks, it's only going to be Dune 3 on IMAX screens. And I think they're all going to sell out. All right,
We
what's
got
next?
AL, who says, I watched No Other Choice last weekend. Didn't like it, unfortunately. Liked the first 2 acts, but it fell apart for me in the third.
That's the new Park Chan-wook movie. You know what? I'm going to disagree. It was funny in a deliciously kind of dark way. I like that. Lee Byung-hun, who of course has been getting around a lot lately, I thought he was really good in it. So I didn't like it as much as I think it's got like north of 90% in both audience and critic scores. I didn't like it as much as a lot of other people did, but I still thought it was really quite good myself personally. But hey, it's all subjective. If it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you. All right, what's next?
Chris Parker says, in the Return of the King re-release, Peter Jackson mentioned the reason he hasn't made a feature since Hobbit is because of the death of his collaborator, director, photographer, Andrew Lesnie. Very sad. He did, however, say he's going to try and move on soon and make a new film with a new DP.
Yeah, by the way, and thank you for supporting us on that level, man, very much. I mentioned that a little bit earlier that he brought, I never heard of that until this past weekend, that he made some comments about that. And because I remember wondering, I think Rob and I even discussed this maybe a while ago. It's like, why has not Peter Jackson gotten back in the director's chair yet? I mean, he did that one documentary, but I mean, actually get in a director's chair and direct a narrative story again. And that's actually really sad. Really sad to hear that. And I hope he soon gets to the place again where he feels like he can actually get back onto set and direct films again. I hope he gets to that point. All right. Thank you again for supporting us on that level.
Yeah, I think
that's
it's like
very kind of you, man.
Yeah, I think it's like a $30 super chat.
Yeah,
Thank you.
in American dollars.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Matt Mapes says, this is interesting. It's kind of back to back inadvertently. Over the weekend, Peter Jackson stated he hasn't had the heart to make another film since the passing of his longtime DP, Andrew Lesnie, in 2015. Very sad. How funny that two people had that back to back, but yes.
Again, yeah, and you're right, very sad. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I had already left Collider when Schnepp passed away. So I had long since left Collider by the time Schnepp died. Had I still been there, though, would I have been able to go in the next day or the next week or the next month? I mean, I don't know. I had the benefit of being in a totally different place.
Well, the worst part is that it happened at Comic-Con.
Yeah, well, why we were at Comic-Con. I mean, technically it happened before that.
But I mean, we got the news.
Yeah, the official word went out at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got to come back into my own converted garage. And I got to sit down, or in at the time, my converted bedroom, and just do my show from there. I didn't have to go back into the Collider set and sit at that desk in that chair where right beside me Schnepp would always sit.
Dude, I
don't know if I would. So I can totally get where Peter Jackson's coming from.
I wasn't on camera for that, but I was behind the scenes on set for the last time he was ever on Heroes at the Collider studio. And I remember thinking, man, his voice is so raspy. He seems so tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
We got Benjamin Garcia. Hi, just started watching your show last October and love it.
Oh, thank you, man.
What is the likelihood that Kevin Feige joins Paramount after Marvel to head Star Trek?
0.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You think anybody? I mean, look, of course, writers need gigs, actors need gigs, all that kind of stuff. But people going to be in Kevin Feige's position, do you think they want to go over and work with the Ellisons? I don't think so.
No.
So I'm going to say You know, they say never, but I'll say never. Absolute zero chance that happens. Absolute zero.
We got Yatsu who says, hey, is the IMAX exclusivity for Dune 3? Yes, it is worldwide. It's global.
Yep, it is worldwide. To the best of my knowledge. To the best of my knowledge, it is global.
Worldwide. Dan V900. I don't understand why Hodson has such a foothold with writing DC films. Birds of Prey, Batgirl, Flash, an unmade Batman Beyond film revealed by THR, and now Brave and the Bold. Surely there's more writers.
Well, here, hold on a second, though. Let me bring this up. Because, to be fair, look, I've already given my feelings on it, so you guys know my feelings. But to be fair, okay, Harley Quinn, which I hated, okay, I hated it. But I'm in the minority. Look at this. Harley Quinn had a 79% critic rating and a 78% audience rating.
Right.
I mean, listen, to be fair, I mean, I didn't like it at all. I hated it. But to be fair, a lot of other people liked it. Also, if I look up The Flash, let's bring up The Flash here. There it is, 2023. The majority of critics liked it. It's got a 63, and a bigger majority of the audience liked it.
Well, I was one of them because I was entertained.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I didn't think it was one of the greatest comic book films of all time, like David Zaslav said it was.
Of course not.
It has flaws, but I was really entertained by it. So, look, you already know I think she's a bad choice. I do. But to be fair, just because I hated that Harley Quinn movie, the majority of the people liked it. Just facts are facts. The fact that, the fact that a bunch of people don't like The Flash, fair. But the facts are the majority of the people who saw that film liked it. That's a fact. And then the Batgirl thing. So, I mean, I don't know. Look, again, all I can guess is that she came in and gave the best pitch. And I know James Gunn really likes The Flash like I do. So if she went in and gave the best pitch, glory. But I'm not going to lie. I am apprehensive about this. I really am. So we'll see how it all turns out. All right, what's next?
$20 super chat from Man of Action.
Thank you, Man of Action. Appreciate that, man.
Hey, guys, much love. On the topic of the new Batman, I love getting to see the interesting and unique gadgets that Batman showcases in his repertoire in each movie. How do you guys think they could do it in the new Batman?
Listen, here's the fun thing about it. I think you can do a darker, grittier Batman and totally lean into his utility belt.
Yeah.
Like, not to the point that he's, quick, reach into my utility belt.
Remember
this? And pull out my bat shark repellent.
Hey, it works every time. 50% of the time.
50% of the time, it works every time. Like, maybe not to that degree, but the gadgets are almost traditionally as synonymous with Batman as Bond's gadgets
There
are.
are some very good ones in the Arkham series, the video game series, that I wouldn't mind if they even like threw a little homage to, you know?
So I think it will be a part of it. All right, what's next?
Silent Ghost, favorite smokestack twin. Who played two characters at once better, Michael or Pattinson?
Oh, if you're talking about Mickey 17.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
That was good.
That was good. They were all a little different.
I was disappointed with the movie. Pattinson was great in it. The one I would compare playing two different characters in the same movie with Michael B. Jordan in Sinners is actually Armie Hammer in The Social Network.
Yeah, which before that time I was like, are they twins?
Listen, I didn't find out till weeks after I saw the movie that it was both played by the same guy. I really didn't. Like, what's the one line? I'm 6'2", 220 pounds, and there's two of me.
Yeah.
I love that line. I sure I got the numbers wrong, but
The
you get the
Winklevoss
gist.
twins.
Somebody else mentioning Tatiana Maslany in Orphan Black. Got them all beat because she played 700 different characters in that one. So I'll easily Michael B. Jordan over the Robert Pattinson one. I'm not saying that Michael B. Jordan's necessarily a better actor than Robert Pattinson, but in that particular performance, I'll give it to Jordan in Sinners. But I think, again, the comparison I would make Michael Jordan in that is to Armie Hammer's performance in The Social Network. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Dean Talks Movies with some support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Talks Movies.
Silent Ghost is back. Says, was Michael B. Jordan snubbed the Best Actor award? I've heard that he deserved it more than Timothy. Michael was great in both parts of Sinners. Well, the nominees haven't been
Well,
released.
first, yeah, the nominations haven't even come out, so let's not talk about that. He's been snubbed. Listen, if it wasn't for Chalamet's performance in Marty Supreme this year, and I was an Oscar voter, I would be voting for Michael B. Jordan. But Timothy Chalamet in Marty Supreme did happen this year. And my vote would go to Timothy Chalamet. I just thought it was just that much better. Now, Leo DiCaprio, Michael B. Jordan, and Timothy Chalamet are all so good in their respective movies this year. I will have zero problem with any of them winning. If Michael B. Jordan wins, I got no problem with that. If Leo wins, I got no problem with that. But my personal vote would probably be for Chalamet, and it kind of looks like he is the one who's going to win. All right, what's next?
Jude says, hey, Mr. Campea and crew, hope you're well. Not sure if you saw or mentioned it. Did you see the report Netflix bought the rights to the live-action Zelda movie? Well, the streaming rights, it's a Sony movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
They will be going to Netflix after its theatrical run.
But they don't own the movie itself. Yeah, Sony owns that.
All right, what's next?
$7 billion buys a lot, man. Silent Ghost. I was getting convinced of becoming a vampire in Sinners, but that could just be me getting the tinglies from Haley with fangs. She could bite me.
She's great in that, man. Like, she's always been really good. I love her. Like, I don't love her as much as my wife loves her, but I mean, I love her. She's terrific. And her listen, actually, the greatness of Michael B. Jordan in the movie, I think, is unfortunately making people overlook just how good she was in that movie. She's awesome in that, man. And I hope to see her on screen a lot more after she has her baby, of course. All right, what's next?
We got the comic book reporter. What are the chances Warner Brother Discovery is blocked from being sold?
I mean, it's possible. It is possible, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult to block it.
Hey, if they block it, it's better to me than Paramount buying it at this point.
Yeah, because it's going to face a lot of legal challenges. Like, even if they try to block it, that attempted block will face legal challenges. So but it is possible. But honestly, in a world where the Disney Fox merger went through, it's going to be hard to have many legal legs to stand on to block this one, because now there's precedent. There's big precedent, and it's good. And in law, precedent is king. So it's going to be, again, it is possible, but I don't think it's all that likely that they're going to be able to do that. Anyway, we'll see. What's next?
Silent Ghost says my favorite directors would be, this is going 1 through however many that is, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Ryan Coogler, James Gunn, and then honorable mention would be Quentin Tarantino.
It's a good list, man. Not necessarily in the same order, but all those guys would be on my list too. I mean, and you know what the best thing about it is? All those directors are still making movies today.
Yeah, as far as current, yeah.
That's how lucky we are right now as film fans, that all those directors. And again, I think, Jonathan, I think you were the one to bring this up. Think about this. In 2026, we're getting new movies from Steven Spielberg,
Yep.
Christopher Nolan,
Denis.
and Denis Villeneuve.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the three greatest.
Current. That are live right now and
we're
working.
getting live action movies from all of them this year. How spoiled are we? That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Jude Lehman, yes, says, what's more likely, She-Hulk season 2 or a new Hulk movie?
Whoa.
Well, it wouldn't be with Tatiana. Should be recast.
I'm not so sure about that.
You think they make amends?
I don't really even know that they ever broke the relationship. I mean, I know. Oh no, she recently said she would. No. Watch the interview. She was joking around. That doesn't mean she is going to be back, but it certainly didn't mean she isn't. Look, both are unlikely, because as far as the Hulk goes, there's still a lot of rights issues, problems that they have with Universal Studios that holds the distribution rights to the Hulk. So Marvel can make a Hulk movie, but then they got to hand the movie over to Universal for Universal to do whatever it wants with it. So I'm oversimplifying it, but that gives you the basic gist. I don't think either are likely. I think a She-Hulk season 2. You know what? I would also like a She-Hulk season 2. But John, I thought you hated She-Hulk. I did. I hated the series. But there was enough stuff there that you could see there was a good show there to be made if you didn't botch it. And I would be very excited to see them take a swing at it again and hopefully just improve all the things that they did wrong in the first one, make it actually funny. Then it could work. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, what's next?
We got Crosstalks movies. From what you know about Doomsday, has your mind been changed about Hugh Jackman coming back?
I'm not answering that.
Yeah.
Can't answer that.
And then we got Alex, who says, "Hey, John, composer of the music from Loki Season 2 trailer here. Big fan with all the Doomsday hype. I made a cover. I think you guys will enjoy."
Really? Did you actually? You actually composed some of the music they used in
For
the
the
trailer?
trailer, I guess. Yeah.
That's pretty cool
really
if that's true. That's really cool if that's true. It's always fun who we get people writing in messages to us. That's awesome, man. All right, what's next?
We got, what is that? That's an old shot. We got Silent Ghost. Sending love to John, Rob, Jonathan, and Ann, my favorite podcast.
Thank you,
Love
man.
all of your scoops and opinions. Will bawl my eyes out when you retire.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. It's still a ways off, but I do appreciate that. Thank you, man.
We got Sam Falds, who says, "Theory, Doomsday opens the Avengers with kids killing some good guys. Doom already has a hold over them, and it gets explained how he does." Or the Toby Spider-Man world ender theory closer. Those are his theories.
You know, it's killing me because right now there's this rumor going around, like it's spreading like wildfire online, and a bunch of people are saying, "Oh, it's true," about how like the opening of Doomsday is like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man fighting the X-Men and all this kind of stuff, and it's killing me because I know for a fact whether that's true or not, but I can't say. Yeah, I can't say, but. Other than that, I'll say the first part of your thesis is completely not true. I can tell you that. That first part of your made-up thesis is completely not true. But I cannot address, obviously, the second part. All right, what's next?
Silent Ghost says, "John is my long-lost twin. We have the same celebrity crushes, enjoy both Man of Steel and Superman, love the Batman, and favorite Spider-Man is Andrew." Check.
Yeah, I am a proud member of the guys who love both of the recent Supermen. I think David Cordsweat is a wonderful Superman, and my guy Henry is still my favorite. I love them both. I think they're both great. And yeah. All right, what's next?
Trevor Zeller, $20 super chat.
Thank you, Trevor.
Big fan. Wanted to ask if you've seen the theory on Doomsday teasers having timestamps to Endgame, the numbers of the countdown for the movie linked to key scenes to Endgame, if you got to them at those times.
Yeah, theory's wrong.
Those are countdowns to the release date.
Yeah, theory's wrong. Yeah, don't worry about it. The theory's wrong. I mean, literally, you can jump to any moment in Endgame and see it as being something really significant, but the theory's wrong. All right, what's next?
Lohit says Marina Baccarin, sorceress, in an interview said they really nailed Castle Grayskull on the He-Man movie. I'm hyped. Travis Knight better nail. Well, at least in that wide shot, you know.
It's not just the wide shot, man. The Castle Grayskull was one of the things they showed us at CinemaCon last year. Yeah. And it looked awesome. The exterior and the interior look awesome. That doesn't mean the movie's going to be awesome. I'm just saying they nailed Castle Grayskull. 100% they did. It like visually and stylistically. If you're a fan, if you grew up with that original He-Man animated show, this is going to bring all the feels because they got the design aspects 100% perfect across the board on it. So I'm just wait to see it. That doesn't mean the movie's going to be good, but you'll be very happy with the visual design styles, especially Castle Grayskull. All right, what's next?
Mean says the percent chance they reveal the new Bond actor by or at CinemaCon.
Very low. CinemaCon is not, although in recent years they have done some announcements. That's true. But primarily, CinemaCon isn't about big announcements. That's really for more things like Comic-Con or D23 or things like that. CinemaCon is about the studios bringing all their movies for the upcoming year and pitching them to all the movie theater owners and giving big presentations on the movies they've got coming out that next 12 months. Not movies that are coming out in 4 years, but the movies coming out to your theaters in the next 12 months and doing these big presentations on them and bringing the stars of the movie out on the stage and the directors out on stage and all the studio heads out on stage to do presentations for them. Because remember, they want as many screens as possible and the best screens as possible. And to get those, you got to convince the movie theater owners. So it's really more about presentations than it is about announcements. Like I said, though, the last couple of years, they have dropped some significant announcements, but I don't think CinemaCon's going to be the place that they announce the new James Bond. All right, what's next?
Freeman Film says thoughts on the rumor that Ruffalo was replaced as Hulk, reshoots on Spidey due to Mark's red carpet comments, not a chance in heel.
Okay, look, first of all, whenever you say rumors from who? Rumors from where?
People who
What's
really didn't
the
like his
source?
comments.
Who said it? Because I guarantee you that rumor came from a Gus's gas station reviews.fart. That's where it came from. I 100% guarantee you that's where it came from. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Sorry, and this was actually the second part of Silent Ghost thing. Previous comment. John and I both enjoy comics and video games. I also think Paramount is embarrassing itself. F Paramount and go Netflix. Surprised I'm saying. I can't believe I root for Sarandos. I can't believe I
can't. That's how bad Paramount is right now. They actually made me cheer for Netflix. Look, I will still say this. I am still going to hope, because it's still Paramount, man. It's Paramount. I'm still going to hope that they get their act together and make Paramount a celebrated studio in the industry again. I really, really do. I'm going to hope for good things for them. But right now, David Ellison's acting like a complete jackass. He's a moron. Let me rephrase. He's acting like a moron. That doesn't mean he is a moron. We all act like morons sometimes. Doesn't mean we are morons. But he's acting like a complete dick and a complete insufferable moron. And he makes me want to cheer against Paramount. So I'm going to hope he just goes, okay, you know what? Because we can all have these moments. I've been going about this the wrong way. I'm going to refocus my attention on Paramount and just to make Paramount the studio it can be. And hopefully that happens. All right, what's next?
GB Gamers views his former green bastard here. So you know what happens in Doomsday? Does that information help with the cryptic pic the Russo brothers posted?
Actually, not at all. It really doesn't. You know, I went back. Somebody asked me that before. Now that you know everything that happens in Doomsday, that picture they put out, you know, with the sound stage and all that kind of stuff, do you know what it means now? I'm like, nope. Look, I still don't know what it is they're talking about in that shot. I have no idea. I'm sure someday they'll reveal it, what that picture was supposed to communicate, and all of us will go, oh, okay, now that makes sense. But honestly, I look at that picture still today and I have no idea what it means. All right, what's next?
Silent Ghost thinks Star-Lord will return in Avengers Secret Wars.
I mean, listen, nobody's off the table when it comes to Secret Wars. Nobody's off the table. Ricky Tiki Taki, Craven. I think he could come back as Quicksilver in Secret Wars. I literally don't think anybody's off the table when it comes to Secret Wars, including Star-Lord. All right, what's next?
Reels and Heels. If you go back further than Parks and Rec and Chris Pratt's career, watch him as Brighton Abbott in Everwood. Emily Van Camp was also in that series.
I had no idea. First of all, I never watched Everwood, but I'm familiar with the show. I never knew he was in that. Yeah, the earliest thing I remember Chris Pratt from was Wanted. That's the earliest thing I think I remember him from. And then, of course, Parks and Rec and all that kind of stuff. But I had no idea he was in that show. All right, what's next?
Austin says, Jonathan didn't poop at the start of the show like he said he would yesterday, and now my day is ruined beyond compare.
Oh, that's the Night of the Seven Kingdoms reference.
Are you certain about that?
Are you sure?
Rob left kind of quickly. Then we got L. Ben, who says they should have a live Doomsday countdown clock billboard like the one they had for Oppenheimer. You know, someone else said that. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Except that's expensive, man.
It's
to
Disney.
hold that billboard for an entire year. But you know what?
Well, why couldn't they do it at the El Cap?
You could.
They own the El Cap.
But you know what? Even as you're coming down, you're getting off the highway and you take that one road that comes into Hollywood that passes by.
You can see like the
Hollywood Highland.
Yeah.
There's a big movie billboard up there.
Oh, yeah.
it might be worth it to rent that one out for a whole
Right
year
as it
and have it being
curves to like
countdown
either
clock.
Franklin and
Problem
Island.
is, it's not a digital billboard. It's
Right.
literally an old style put up the wallpaper billboard. But it might not be a bad idea to do like a full year countdown clock on the highway exit that literally takes you right into Hollywood. That could be worth it. All right, what's next?
Let's see. I just read that one. We just have some support from Mr. Moore and then Ricky Harrow. That was it.
All right. Thank you so much for supporting us, guys. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow for the next installment of the show. We're obviously going to be talking about the Oscar nominees. Those come out first thing in the morning tomorrow before we start the show. Make sure you guys come on back and join us for that. So, big thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett. Of course, our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
Until tomorrow.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.